Right, so I'm going to, okay, it's recording. Thank you, Clay. It is June 7th, 2021, 7:30 p.m. and I call this meeting of the Needham Design Review Board to order. I'm Mark Lusing, Board Chair. I would like to confirm that all members and applicants are present and can hear us. So members, when I call your name, please respond. Chad Riley.
Here.
Deborah Robinson.
Here.
Okay, we'll wait for Bob to come in shortly. Also attending our town staff support, Rana Monadorfer and Elisa Lichman. Applicants on the agenda, please respond. 68 Highland Avenue, FW Webb.
Here. Here.
IDG 140 Kendrick Street.
Here.
And then 140 Kendrick Street, Boston Properties.
Here.
Okay. And 952 Great Plain Avenue, Little Spoon Thai Kitchen.
Yeah.
And the Great Plains Central Avenue Utility Box from the Needham Cultural Council. There she is.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hi. Good evening. Welcome to this open meeting of the Needham Design Review Board, which is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the coronavirus. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Needham Design Review Board is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, the Design Review Board page, identifying how the public may join. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. There is a special permit application tonight, so we will be allowing public comments on that item. Otherwise, DRB meetings do not typically require allowing public comment. All the supporting materials that have been provided to members of this board are available on the town website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Please be aware that other people may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer unless the chair approves. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. I'd like to review the remote meeting procedures for tonight's meeting. I will introduce each applicant on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will take comments or questions from DRB members. After discussion, each vote will be by roll call vote. The building department requires electronic submission of permit applications. So a copy of your application along with stamped and noted for the type of approval you receive will be emailed to you by the DRB support staff. That can be attached to your building permit application. So we will now start with the first item on the agenda. So we have a special permit public hearing for FW Webb located at 68 Highland Avenue. We made an application to the DRB for a special permit due to section 554 of the sign areas, requesting to exceed 32 square feet for a wall sign. So I will turn it over to you.
You want to start out, Jamie, or you would like me to?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So I'm Jamie Anderson with Greenleaf Construction on behalf of FW Webb. Ed Spinney from Sign Art is here, and we're following up on our April meeting, and we've come back and Ed's put a package together. We're looking to see if we could get relief to go larger than the 32 square feet that is allowable.
Okay, and there are three different sizes listed and shown on your diagrams, correct?
Yes, what I did was put together three sizes and also gave you guys the visual, how far away you can see a certain size letter and so forth. And the reason we're asking to go the 49 square feet is because we need to get the visibility for our small line of copy, which is what our product is. And that's the way our logo is, and it's a national brand, so we really can't change the size of the small letters unless we change the size of the big letters. So we tried to come back with, something that was a little more palatable for you guys. But we really respectfully request the 49 square feet, which will get us up in letter height to a 4.8, if I'm not mistaken. 4.8 inch letter, which is gives us a reasonable visibility. We currently are next door, essentially, and we have three 32 square foot signs. Tonight, we're asking for one 49 square foot sign. So I'd like to take any questions or anything from everybody. They should have the full package on the visibility. I actually did a page 3 that I sent out that shows the exact size letters in exact size. So if you sat back and if you printed this out and sit back and look at it, you'll understand the visibility issue that we have. So I'll take any questions.
Okay. Deborah, you want to start?
Oh, okay. So, and I think I missed that the first time you presented this. So I don't know what you presented the first time. I'm just looking at your stuff on the screen here. So it's this sheet that's the rendered elevation. Is that what wait, are there two? Can you just maybe I don't know if
No,
you can screen share. Could you walk us through the sheets?
Jamie, do you have those sheet? Did you turn in the sheets that we sent off with the 3 sizes?
Yeah, the 3 sizes.
So Deborah, yeah, Jamie, hold on. Deborah, page 3, 4, and 5 of that package have the different size signs. So you can see how they fill that gable. When they were there before.
Okay, so the first one is a not 49.3 square feet.
Right.
And then 30.
And the first
square feet.
package came in, the bath, kitchen, and lighting was larger and stretched out much further. We asked them we asked them to modify it so that it fit within the framework of the Frank Webb home geometry. And that's what they've done here.
Deborah, I apologize. They're actually out of order there. I think that it goes 42, 49, 32 in the packet. So.
$42, $49. I mean, within the building, I would just like to think that there's really not a good reason for this sign to be more than 32 square feet when, if other people around you are complying with the 32 square feet. I mean, the 32 does look a little small in the space it's in. The 49, the 42, it's like the 3 bears, where in a way, I think the 42 of the 3 of them looks more comfortable in the space, is what I would say. What do the rest of you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can intervene, at the request of the chair, we did come back with the 42 to give another option.
So I would say I think I could go with upping it to the 42. In this case, I don't think the 49. I don't think there's any reason to go with the 49.
Well, we are replacing 3 signs with 1. I mean, we currently have 3 32 square foot signs.
Yeah, but that's a different location. You have different kind of exposures. I don't think that's a straight comparison. One's on parking lot side, one's on the street side, one's on the end. I think that was an unusual physical configuration. This is a little more straightforward. So Chad, do you have any questions or comments?
I generally agree with Deb that the 32 seems sufficient. It looks to me like it's a little high in that panel. I think there's a big difference between the old location where the sign's up quite high. It's kind of a tough viewing angle because the building itself is elevated so much, and it's behind all of the telephone lines, so that makes it a little harder to see as well. So this one being down lower and a little closer to the street, and being in an area where people tend to be in kind of bumper to bumper slower traffic. I'm not really seeing a huge argument in favor of the larger signs. I think the 49 is way too big. The 49 is the 42 still seems larger than it needs to be, but I'm open to conversation.
Yeah, I guess I would agree. I think it's not unusual to have a sign that's limited to 32 square feet installed in an area that could support a bigger sign. But this is a one-story building. It's pretty visible, that frontage. It's set back a little bit from the street, so there's a curve on the street in that area. So I'm inclined to think that there's not sufficient issue and problem to actually grant a larger size just because it's the area that is available. I do understand the bath kitchen lighting desire of the applicant, but I don't think it's sufficient for me to say that we should go beyond the base allowable 32 square foot size.
Well, if we can get the visibility of the bottom line, and that's what we're concerned with, is a little bit over 4 inches at the 42, then it's a little more reasonable to be read from a distance, whether the traffic is stopped some of the time or not. A lot of the time the traffic is driving by. And I attached a letter visibility chart for you guys. We're just getting a very short visibility with the 32 square foot sign. We're going to get under 40 foot of readability, which it's a 2-lane road if you're on the other side. And then we're set back a little bit. It's going to be pretty hard to read what those words say. So that's what our contention is. I mean, we'd love to have a sign on the side, each side of the building, because we are on a curb and we are very visible on either side as well. So if we have to go to the 32, then we would consider an additional sign facing the parking lot. I believe that is allowed at 32.
If there's an entrance on that parking lot.
Yep, there is an entrance on the parking lot. On both sides, actually. There's a parking lot on both sides and entrances to the parking lot on both sides. So we're trying to keep it, just one sign and keep it reasonably readable, not overly. If you feel the 49 is that much too big, then, we would respectfully request the 42 just to give us that little bit of rough 40, a little over 40 foot visibility, which is kind of helpful in this type of economy where we're trying to sell a particular product and our product happens to be the smallest lettering. So that's our reasoning. I understand the traffic. I've done some traffic studies. Is slow there a lot of the time, but if you're going 25 or 30 miles an hour, to read a below a 4-inch letter is going to be almost impossible. So these visibility studies here have they have amount of seconds to see something, and you could judge that by speed. So it makes it a little tough. So that's.
Well, I'm going to take a moment and see if there's any public comment. Do we have anyone, Rana, that's interested in commenting on this? We do not. Okay. So.
No, I don't see any hands up. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thanks. So what is the, I'm looking for the letter height when it is the 32 square foot sign, and it's 3.9. Am I on the wrong? Yeah. So it's 3.9 there, and 49. It's 4.8.
No, 4.45.
4, so 4.5.
So just almost 4.5.
So what happens if you make bath, kitchen, and lighting 4.5 inches high, and it lengthens a little bit? That was a proposal that.
We put that first with a bigger bottom line, but you guys, if once you drew a square around it, it became way over the square footage. So that was an issue. So bringing it back within line to Frank Home Web gave us more of a rectangle when you put a box around it to calculate your square footage.
Yeah.
So we're not as concerned about a square footage issue here as we are a readability issue.
Well, that's what I'm trying to work with you on, because
That would be great if we could make a 5-inch letter for kitchen and bath and stay with the Frank Webb home, the size that it is on the 32 square feet. Would you agree with that, Jamie?
I know that Webb would like as large as possible, but we could talk to them about that. Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty common response, is everybody would like it as large as possible. And some people would have applied for all 3 sides at the same time. That's not a new discussion here, but I'd be curious on the board's comments if we had the 32 square foot on the Frank Webb home and allowed 4.5-inch height on the bath kitchen lighting section. And it would stretch out proportionally, probably near the length of that graphic element.
Would it still be shorter than the line?
I would have to physically do that. In the computer, I would think not. I would think it would be just slightly over the line.
You can also squeeze the spacing around the dots, that still fits. I can't imagine that kerneling distance is a rigid requirement. So if we said you could go 4.5 inches high and just need to hit the ends of the lines on the 30 of that arced line on the 32 square foot sign, would that work for you?
I think if we have to go down to the 32, that we're going to have to talk to Webb on that, or do you think that would work, Jamie?
So Ed, I'm just concerned that, so if you look at your 42 square foot, its overall width says it's 9'9" at 4.45 inches. So then if you go to the 32 square foot, it says it's 8'7". So one would think if you,
Sorry.
it'd
Go
be
ahead,
tough
Jamie.
to squeeze it down. It'd be tough to squeeze it down almost 14, over a foot. That's my concern there.
Right.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
because
Mark's
once you shrink it down to the 32 square feet, then the width of everything is smaller. So all of a sudden, the 4.5-inch letter is wider.
I mean, when the logo usually is the logo. I mean, and I
Right.
would think that, they don't want to change their logo and change the proportions and,
Right.
back to sort of our whole charge about signs and, the sign is the name and the Frank Webb home is perfectly readable. And the fact that the 3 words below aren't as visible from a distance just really isn't, in my mind, that important.
Well, that is our logo, the way you see it. That's the national brand.
Right, so I'm driving down the street, I can see the 32 square foot sign that says Frank Webb Home. And that's perfectly clear.
But bath, kitchen, and lighting is part of the logo, part of the.
I know, and you can keep it on the logo and, that's fine. And just, my point is that it's just not that important, that it's not all that readable from distance. People are looking for Frank Webb Home.
Well,
Yeah, our bylaw is really about identifying the business in its location, not necessarily about telling everybody what the business is all the time. I understand that there's an interest in doing that. I would be willing to let you enlarge that bath, kitchen, and lighting lettering to the limits of that 8'7" line, whatever height that may turn out to be. But beyond that, I don't think, because then it's just to grant an enlargement of the sign area so that the description of the business can be larger is not really within the bylaw at all. And, we try and stretch for people when we can, but I think that goes beyond what I'm comfortable with.
so you feel the 42 square feet isn't a fair arrangement from the larger 49 between that and the 32?
There just isn't a reason to grant a special permit beyond the baseline, because the reasoning basically is so that the bath, kitchen, and lighting can be bigger. And that's not really what I understand that when you did a graphic design element of that, of Frank Webb home bath kitchen lighting, that's part of it. But in identifying the business and its location, which is what our bylaw really tries to define, that part is really not that important. So again, I think I'd be willing to let you increase it proportionally to the 8'7". But that's, I don't know what the other members think.
So if the words at the bottom got bigger to stretch out to the tapered points of the line, and the gap above those letters stayed the same, would that take it outside of the 32 square feet?
Absolutely.
So Deborah, what I'm
So
suggesting, no, it won't, because they're already,
the bottom gets, the vertical gets bigger as well.
Yeah.
Is what I'm
I mean,
saying.
it'd be a slight increase. It would-
Right.
But if we're
the height
saying,
overall.
well, I think you just, the bottom line of the lettering is the bottom line. They get slightly taller and slightly longer.
Yeah.
I
I mean, in my mind, if we're okay with it
Talking about an inch.
stretching the width, if we're okay with it stretching the width and the sign gets nominally bigger than 32 square feet, we're in a special permit request anyway. So I would think that we would have the ability to set the limits on what could happen with the text. And you know, I think we don't have to exactly say the number of square footage, because everything else is going to stay the same. And we're going to have one element that proportionally increases if we go down that road.
Well, I'm comfortable
No.
granting something, but you know, it's based on the fact that this is a 32 square foot sign. I was assuming that the ends of that bar were that it's 8'7" wide. So the lighting and bath expanding to that limit isn't going to change the size, other than an incremental portion of an inch on the height.
okay, I mean, I would be okay agreeing to that. And then, you know, and I assume they would keep that, the dimension at the top of those, the bath kitchen words exactly where it is, because you wouldn't want to crowd it. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Or keep it, or, you know, if they don't want to change the proportions, then just keep it as it is, and it's a little smaller.
Well, their first presentation, bath, kitchen, and lighting, stretched well beyond the Frank Webb home portion
Yeah.
of the time. So I guess I think we've sort of talked about that. The other question then goes back to point Chad made originally as to where it sits within that gable. Are we comfortable with that? I had a sense that if it might be a little lower too, that it was a bit more within the rectangle below the eave returns on that gable. Would that be better? Or is it's sort of just centered in that whole geometry right now?
I would tend to put the top of the F align where it looks like it's a little higher than that horizontal at the, I'll call it the sort of the bottom of the pediment, that's sort of the top edge of that sort of horizontal bar thing. It looks like it's a little bit higher than that. If I would be like, I would align it with that.
I'm holding a piece of paper across my screen, and look, I mean, if it's maybe fractionally higher, but it seems to me like it could drop about half the height of the F.
Yeah, we've got basically the bottom of the soffit. I'm thinking if it's
Yeah, that would
below
work
the bottom
too.
of
The
soffit,
bottom of that.
there's a soffit on that gable that returns around the front.
Be fine with that.
You agree, Deborah?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I would, let me make-
So we're going to need a special permit if we do what we're doing, because it's incrementally taller.
we're ready to approve that, I believe. So it'll have conditions. We'll put a couple of conditions on this and approve it, and you'll be ready to go. So I would take a motion that we approve the special permit for the Frank Webb home on the submission of the 32 square foot example and that we allow the bath, kitchen, and lighting to be enlarged so that the B and the G align with the ends of the graphic line of that 32 square foot example. And also that the entire sign be lowered so that the top of the lettering be aligned with the bottom of the soffit on the gable that they're constructing.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, come to the vote.
Jamie? Is that something that we want to, do we want to put this on hold and come back, or is this something you want to agree to?
I think the board's very strong where we are right now, and I'm appreciative that they're allowing us to come back. Or I guess, Mark, would this be administratively after this, or how would you like to?
If they reject this and you want to come back, you can come back.
Yeah.
But this is the approval we're willing to give you at this time.
Right. I mean, you're allowed to build what's been approved. If you don't want to, but you're not obligated to build it. You can build nothing or come back and apply for something else. But, you know, I think if they're comfortable building this, then you would have the approval, you know, assuming that it's all voted and approved, and then you could build it if you want, or choose to come back with something else.
Great. Yep. Okay.
Okay,
All right, so we come to the vote. Deborah,
Approve.
Chad,
Approve.
and the chair approves. So we will put that out for you guys and get that marked up and sent back to you.
All right. Thanks for everyone's time tonight.
thank you.
Thank you.
Just give me 1 second to make a couple notes here. Sorry. Okay, so the next item, I would like to jump out of order just because I think some of these others are going to take a little bit of discussion as well. But I think that we've seen these, the Cultural Council wrapping of transformer boxes before, and we've got a good understanding of them. So I'd like to revise the agenda, and item number 2 will be the Needham Cultural Council applying for art design wrap for utility box. So Charlie, if you want to go ahead.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you taking me. I'm Charlie Nanda. I'm the chair of the Needham Council for Arts and Culture. What we have for your approval tonight is a design called Save the Bees. It is a project by Emma Curry. This is the 3rd installment, same type of project. It's a 3M vinyl wrap, an art graphic design printed on the vinyl wrap, which is a 3M laminate gloss. It's a standard air release removable mat. These have been weathering so well. Our first one was installed a couple of years ago, and it actually got hit by a snowplow sidewalk and it bounced back. It still looks great. So we are really lucky that the product is so durable. We're really happy about that. And so we're hoping to have it installed by Speed Pro Graphics. We have a quote from them. The new owner's name is Wayne Arthur, a fabulous guy. And they outsource a company called Karma Graphics, and they install it. It's kind of like putting a sticker on a very dilapidated shaped box. And so that's what we have for you today. It's called Save the Bees. There'll be a small panel, 8.5 by 11, that's just put on top that has the town of Needham's name and our name on top. And that's also a vinyl sticker, basically. So what questions do you have for me?
Yeah, why don't I go ahead, start with Deborah. You want to start?
Oh, it's very nice. It'll be a huge improvement. The plaque that says attached to the side of the box,
Yes.
where's that can be relative to sort of the photo that we're seeing? Is it the
Well,
side we're not seeing?
yeah, we haven't quite decided yet. It kind of is a look at it when we get to the space, because as they install the sticker, it definitely, the box is not straight. And so it's kind of like which area is probably the best for it, that's not covering the most design of the art, because it's not actually built into the design itself. It's just placed on top. So we don't exactly know, but usually not the street side. It would be the pedestrian sidewalk
So
side.
Oh, so the longer side would be the one at the sidewalk. So is it 11 inches, that wouldn't fit on the narrow side, or?
The front and back panel are supposed to be the same size. They're a little bit slanted on this, so it would be probably the street side bottom right corner, as long as that doesn't cover one of the Bs.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I guess it, can be located based on, where on the design.
Yeah,
it
and the
fits.
design, it does end up, the last time we did it, they had to reprint a whole side for us and sort of try to match it, because as it wraps around, they do 4 different pieces, and as it wraps around, sometimes it needs some wiggling around the meter bump out. It's not a, it's definitely an art form trying to get this piece on that box.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Bob, are you on now? Okay, he's still not in. Okay. Bob, are you
Can
available?
you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with this this design.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay. Chad, any questions or comments?
No, I think these have been very successful. I like to see the variety and some different ages of artists and everything else. So nothing further for me.
Okay. I have no further questions either. So I would take a motion to approve the Cultural Council applying for art design wrap for utility box at 1458 Great Plain Avenue as submitted.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, and we come to the vote. Bob Dermody,
I vote in favor.
Chad Riley,
Approve.
Deborah Robinson,
Approved.
and the chair approves. So thank you, Charlie.
Really appreciate the support. Thank you all.
So the next item is IDG 140 Kendrick Street. Jason, you're back with us.
Yes, I am. Good evening. Good to see everybody.
You want to explain to us where this is and what you're trying to do here?
Sure. We came back tonight to revisit the highway-facing sign referred to as A1. At the first meeting, we were approved for a 38.5-inch high IDG set of 2-inch deep illuminated channel letters. And we're coming back to see if the board would approve a larger set of channel letters and logo reading IDG at 55 inches. The sign that we brought before you previously was going to be mounted to a panel, so that brought into some proportion concerns. Now the sign is going to be mounted directly to that mechanical screen. And like it's the same type of sign as before. It's an illuminated channel letter that's illuminates white during the white during the day, or sorry, black during the day and white at night. It's a day-night vinyl. This sign does have some limited visibility. There's a lot of trees along there, so you really only get a look at the sign for a couple seconds on the highway. So that's why we wanted to go with a slightly larger letter. And like I said, that would be at 55 inches.
I'm trying to get a zoom in on the square footage here.
Yeah, I can give that to you. It's 69.56.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Bob, do you want to start off? Any questions or comments?
What will the total square footage be, please? Different from the last one?
It would be 69.56.
Versus-
yeah.
And the previous one was how big, please?
The previous one, let me just make sure I have this math right. The previous one, we were going to have the tagline, but we decided to get rid of that.
Okay, that's good.
But if the previous one, if we did just the logo and the IDG without the tagline, Let me just get you that number. Hold on 1 second.
Actually, Jason, we really just want to know the difference. We approved a sign with a tagline. What was the area of that sign?
Okay, hold on 1 second.
I believe it was similar to this.
Yeah, it was similar. I have it here. Hold on 1 second.
While you're looking, I'll just make a comment that I think in this location, simpler is better. So removing the tagline is an improvement.
Yeah, we think so too. And the letters were only going to be 6.5 inches high, which wouldn't be visible anyway. Okay, so the previous sign with the tagline was going to be 55 inches tall by the same 131 inches basically.
So the overall area is the same.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. And then real quick, Mark, do we happen to know the comparison of this sign to the PTC sign that used to be there?
I believe that one, if my memory serves me, was a little bit larger.
Okay, then fine. No further questions. Thanks.
Okay. Chad?
I think I heard you say that, I know you said probably twice now, the area of the new sign, but I was doing my own calculation. How big did you say it was?
The area of the new sign is 69.56.
I come up with 82.
It's 55 inches high by 182
Oh,
inches.
55 inches. I'm sorry. I thought that was 5'5". Yeah. Sorry. My bad.
No problem. Yeah, and that mechanical screen is 11 foot 5 inches high.
All right. So let's see. Combined by 5 times. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah. No, I just looked at, well, misreading the 5'5" threw me off because it seemed like that was going to come out so much bigger. In my sense, my recollection was last time we discussed it, there was a lot of consideration of this sign compared to the one that had been there before. We seemed fairly comfortable with it back then. I guess I'm not really clear why it needs to be increased. What's the allowable when viewed from a highway?
They can be up to 100 by right.
Yeah, so it is smaller. And do we know the height of these letters relative to TripAdvisor? I think we were talking about that when we were considering this one and how high those letters were.
They're taller, but TripAdvisor had a lot more length.
Yeah.
It's
right.
part of their 280 square foot.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look out of proportion on the mechanical screen.
We did have some issues last time because it was mounted on a panel, and that was the panel size to play and getting that settled. So, I do like the change to the individual mounted on the screen.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, Deborah, do you have any?
Yeah, no, I always tend to like the individual letters as well. And, the sheet that shows the elevation and then the photo, it kind of looks like this mechanical thing is like set back somewhere in a way that it's hard to tell about the visibility, but it's already, that part of it's already approved. So I think just the change to the the size of the letters, I think it's fine.
Okay. I don't have any other questions or comments. I think that the area is reasonable, and it is a tough location. I don't think that this is out of scale for what they're trying to do there. So I don't have any objections. And I didn't really hear anything that would cause me to say we need to put any conditions on this. So I would take a motion to approve the IDG sign for 140 Kendrick Street as submitted.
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, we come to the vote. Bob Dermody,
I approve.
Chad Riley,
Approve.
Deborah Robinson.
Approve.
The chair approves. All right, thanks, Jason.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
And, okay, now we have. Next up is Boston Properties for wayfinding signage at 140 Kendrick Street.
Hi,
Alyssa, okay,
Elise. Yeah,
thanks.
it's easier to pronounce than it is to spell.
All right, so basically I'm just going to do a quick overview because I think we can dispense with part of this more quickly than the rest. They do
Okay.
want to redo that main entrance sign, which has been built. PTC did a couple of different iterations in their time there. And I'll let her explain that to us when we get to it. The other two signs that they were looking for were a sign on the garage about height limit and danger. And then basically they submitted a package of parking lot signs of small scale. And I would say that the parking lot signs, while we look at them for their design to a degree, are not signs that require permitting because they're just directional. So I would ask the board if there's any consideration with just dispensing with those as a review and not really putting them to a vote for approval, unless the board is interested in discussing some of them.
No interest in discussing.
Okay, and then and I would say the garage sign is fairly self-explanatory in need and design. That's pretty typical for those. Are there any questions or comments on those, on that garage sign? Okay,
Simple, tasteful, all in keeping.
Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, I just so I'm clear, I'm looking on my phone for full disclosure, so I want to make sure I'm reading it correctly. Are we discussing the monument sign at the entrance currently?
No,
Okay, fine, thanks.
just the garage, enter, do not enter. Yeah, you're going to have limited ability to flip through these pages on the phone. So
Yeah,
it was basically an overhead on the concrete.
okay, that's fine.
A warning, it's a warning sign, do not enter, enter with a clearance bar. All right. So I would accept a motion to approve the garage entry signage as submitted.
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, and we vote Bob Dermody,
Approved.
Chad Riley,
Approved.
Deborah Robinson,
Approved.
and Chair approves. Okay, so now if we can go back to the more interesting thing at the entrance. You want to describe sort of what you're doing, and if you could kind of tell us how this relates to where the location of the existing one sign is, so we can orient ourselves. The photograph is helpful, but Photoshop is never perfect. So
Sure, so that the existing sign or the new sign would be in the same location as the existing monument sign that's there. And what's actually there right now is IDG's temporary monument sign while we go for approval or seek approval for the signage package. So it's directly across from that Coca-Cola distribution in the entrance to Cutler Park. So that's where you would see both the existing and the new monument sign that we've proposed. So a little background on this. So about 20 years ago, Boston Properties developed this site with PTC, which was their global headquarters for about 20 years. And then in 2018, PTC relocated to Boston. So with that relocation, Boston Properties has been actively trying to redevelop that site as a multi-tenanted asset instead of a single tenant asset. So with that, we actually just completed the amenities upgrade over there. And then we also signed a lease with IDG, who was just represented previously, and they now fully occupy one of the buildings. So obviously PTC is out. We're working on rebranding that development and rebranding it both for Boston Properties, but also the monument sign takes into account showcasing several different anchor tenants within that development.
could you describe the sign for us a little bit?
Sure, so it's 6 feet in height. It's relatively low to the ground. You'll be able to see it coming off of the hill at the I-95 interchange. It's right before the entrance to Cutler Park. It is a mixture of aluminum and vinyl. The 140 emblem that you see there will be illuminated. And then the base is a vinyl wood that we're working on. Currently, the main focus point, the 140 Kendrick, is just one-sided. With the back side, it just has the 140 logo. So the main focal point would be one side as you're coming off the highway down that hill.
Okay, I guess I don't understand the illuminated number. What is that exactly?
The illuminated number. So part of our branding process was a lot of BP's branding uses numbers. So our branding would be 140 Kendrick. That's the name of the property. So we've tied in that 140. That's kind of the emblem or the signature feel and look and feel of that park.
Okay. I guess I'm talking more about construction. Is that neon tubing? Are those channel tubes with lighting inside and then a face on them? It's unclear. 7-inch deep number lighting TBD, internally illuminated. We don't really know what that means.
Okay. I don't have the specifics on that. I can get back to you.
Okay.
On the hardline drawing, Mark, it's numbered shop drawing number 2. It does say face light channel letters painted TBD.
Okay. All right, well, I'll let you guys ask some questions while I think about things. Chad, can you start us off, please?
I guess the first question is, I recall when on the property they came in for the temporary monument sign, and we completely understood that it was being rebranded as a multi-tenant facility. Just in terms of size and scale, about how big is this compared to the one that was put in on a temporary basis?
I'm not sure. I'd have to go out and measure the sign that's there. I don't think it's going to be much larger than the existing sign.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, bold, which is not in and of itself a bad thing. I think my main concern about it is that the that much white channel lit LED lettering could be incredibly bright. And so I think one of the things is trying to figure out a way to make sure that if it moved forward with this kind of a design, that something's being done to make sure that those letters are fairly dim. I think all of them together are going to be more than bright enough, but they could be, almost blinding with all that LED in a pretty compact area, all projecting out in the same direction. So we want to make sure it's not a glare issue for cars, and then it's not causing too much light pollution just in terms of being too bright. And that's, specifically with the white channel lit letter.
Yeah, so we can definitely work with our vendor to come up with a plan for that. Maybe even put it on a dimmer so it's not completely blinding.
Yeah. And then I don't know if we have to come up, no, it's too bad Nelson's not on this one. He would probably be able to give us, recommendations on, number of foot candles or something like that. But if it was on a dimmer, we would want to figure out a way to make sure that somebody didn't come by and just kind of crank it up down the road.
Yeah, I think without a real decision on that, what that is beyond facelit channel letters. I mean, that to have 4 rows of channel that are 1 inch wide, we haven't seen something like that before. So I'd be curious how that's actually made and how that works.
Yeah.
Okay. Deborah?
Yeah, I guess my thought was the same thing about just the brightness of those letters. I think otherwise, just graphically, it's a nice design. With the bright letters on at night, the back side of it, that's going to be a little odd looking, seeing just the tops of the the very tops of the numbers lit up, but I guess if there's not that much traffic coming from that backside.
I don't think the backside's illuminated. I think that would be the back of the cannon.
No, I'm saying the top, wouldn't if the letters are illuminated, wouldn't you be seeing the illuminated tops of those, the ones that poke up above the gray?
No,
You
I
need to
think
see the back of the channel.
it's the channel.
That's okay, so that would just be solid. I don't really have any other comments.
Bob, are you able to look at that in a significant?
Yeah.
Bob, you're-
I'm looking at sort of the front of it on the site with the green strip. Am I breaking up? Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
just
I
a
have
little bit. You're coming
bad
through like a
Wi-Fi
robot.
connection.
You're okay now. Go ahead. Go ahead if you can.
All right, I will try to be less robotic. Yeah, I find this line very busy. It seems to be trying to do a lot of things. So, Mark, if you want to talk for a moment and I'll come
Yeah.
back in.
Okay. Well, I have a couple concerns.
I do have some comments, but I will try reconnecting, Mark, if you want to talk.
Okay. You can also
Yeah,
text
go
me.
ahead, Mark.
You can also text
Okay.
me your comments, Bob. and I
Okay.
can read them.
Yeah. All right. In just a moment.
Okay. I think that this is bigger than the temporary sign. We worked hard with PTC where they were there to keep that monument. The monument sign in the bylaws a 3-foot height limit. So we recognize that doesn't always work in every situation. So we've been flexible on that. But this is a 6-foot high sign. And I'm also, if you look at the site plan, I'm a little concerned about that scale in that location, if there's going to be any visibility issues for the traffic leaving. I noticed that there's not really a crosswalk there, that the sidewalk takes you further in if you're a pedestrian to cross that driveway. So that's helpful. People will pull out and can see. But I think the scale of this is just quite a bit larger than we've seen there. And I don't know that answer to that, but for instance, just the 140 numbers, 4 feet high. And I recognize that's now a pretty fast-paced street, so some visibility is helpful. But the scale of this is, I'll just be curious if the others feel. The box itself is 4'3", I'm seeing, about 5 feet with the base. Then I have just a couple of questions. The idea is that those 3 black panels are for future tenants.
Correct. So IDGs would be installed most likely the day of because they're currently in that space. But the other 2 would be left open for larger tenants.
Okay, so, and that says that those would be internally illuminated, that the IDG is internally illuminated.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's a good idea. Compound signs are, allowed in the bylaw. It makes sense that we've been discussing with you over time how to approach this once you get other tenants, because we didn't want to just string a series of 32 square foot signs along the top parapet of the building. So I like this approach. I would echo the concerns of the other members on the brightness issue. It's really pretty intense.
Do you have a recommendation for the foot candle that you'd like to see, or that?
No, I
you-
think what we have to, I think we'd ask you to install them with a dimmer, and we'd have to look. The member of the board who's a sign manufacturer is not available tonight because he would have a better sense to give us that. But if all 3 are illuminated, and I think are the Kendrick letters sort of backlit, is that the intent there on the bottom?
Recording in progress.
Oh, that's fun.
Sorry about that.
Okay,
I'm now on my laptop.
okay.
Actually, no, I don't believe the Kendrick letters are, I think they're just surface vinyl applied.
Okay, because they're haloed in the illustration, so that, but it does say push through letters with surface mounted vinyl face. Okay. Okay, Bob, do you have any questions?
Yeah, quickly. I appreciate the multi-tenant approach, although I find the sign itself kind of busy, with the high numbers and then the Boston Properties name in there and the different colors and the different names and different colors on the right. If maybe a more limited palette potentially. There's a lot going on there, both geometrically, graphically, lettering, color, etc. And that troubles me. So I may have heard when I cut out on my phone or misheard. Will any of the existing monument be used, or is this a total rebuild?
This would be a total rebuild.
Okay. Yeah. I forget how, I remember visually seeing the PTC and I understood it was a single tenant. So maybe there is a need for some more size, but, and are those other tenants that I saw on the screen there, Zoom, and then the other thing, are those just placeholders or are those potential tenants as well?
So right now, those are placeholders. The only tenant that we would install the signage for on that sign to date would be IDG because they're currently in that space.
Right.
So this is part of our redevelopment plan. Since PTC is on their way out, this is, our attempt at marketing that complex and drawing in tenants and saying, hey, look at this beautiful signage. You can be on here too.
Well, yeah,
Would
understood.
have IDG on there day one.
Right, which is good. Nice to see you in that space. Was Boston Properties on the original PTC monument?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
We have, okay, go ahead. Sorry, Bob.
No, that's kind of where I'm going with that. I don't know how other people feel about that. It's pretty small in the rendering I'm looking at right now. And that's part of my concern with the amount of the things this sign is trying to accomplish.
Okay.
They've got a logo BXP with the 2 words, the numbers can't, it's just, I find it very busy.
Okay, I think one thing we could do is make a condition that the individual tenant signs have a consistent look. So we could say if IDG is white letters on a black box, that would be the way all of those, whatever future tenants came in, that they did the same thing. And
I like that idea.
Keep that a little controlled. I understand to a degree the interest in letting people know who the building owner is in case they want to contact them. But I would agree with Bob that you don't need all of that there. BXP, Boston Properties, I would suggest that is like, can you pick one of the 2 graphic elements and just live with that? Because it doesn't look very big. It's not illuminated. It's a very simple name installation on the box.
And
Mark, my recollection is that in a couple other buildings and properties around the industrial center that we have allowed the developer or the property owner's name on it. I think the last one I recall, we went with kind of an all gray on gray, so that it was there and it was subtle, but it didn't kind of leap out at you, but it still allowed them to kind of maintain their brand on the property.
Okay. Yeah,
I recall that as well, Chad, and I think maybe picking up on what Mark said, maybe the words Boston Properties would be okay, but I'm not sure. Is BXP recognized in the industry as what Boston Properties is?
Yeah, so that's our brand, our logo, and stock ticker.
Okay. Yeah, I would suggest one or the other. I think for those who don't know, they might think it's 2 different things. I think simpler would be better. I like Chad's comment about the gray, sort of the blending into the sign, whereas the signs on the right are really announcing the names of the tenants. And I agree with Mark about having consistency in that right column would be helpful. And my last quick question, please, is you may have said this earlier. What does the back of the sign look like?
So the back of the sign, I don't know if you have the renderings available.
Yeah, I do. If you help me, I'm scrolling through right now.
It would be page 4 or
Page 20 in the overall packet, Bob.
no,
Okay.
2.4 of sign A.
Elevate.
I
Oh,
did notice
elevation
that if you
site
ju-
B. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how my colleagues feel. I'm not crazy about the numbers sticking above the sign. I think that's confusing coming from the other way with the 140 offset. That's my opinion.
Okay.
I'm not sure you really see it the way the sign's angled from the
Yeah.
back too much. I did notice that on page 20, it's calling out a painted logo with a 50% tint. And on the line drawing, page 24, it's called out as vinyl applied letters with the color TBD. So we just want to make sure that's consistent.
So can you let us know which is expected? Is it going to be painted, or you expect to do a vinyl applied on the back side?
I would say most likely vinyl.
I think on just going back to the BXP Boston Properties, I think I have seen that in other places. And so, I mean, if that's the logo, stock ticker, the branding, you know, maybe just if we shrunk it down a tiny bit and just made it like a, you know, all gray, if that was acceptable, then that, you know, gets the brand in there without kind of jumping for too much attention.
Yeah, currently in the rendering, it's the BXP is blue. So as
Yeah.
Bob was saying, you've got a lot of little things happening here. And I do think maybe if those were all simply dark gray or black on the gray background, that would be a way to get the information there, but not add to the sort of dueling information packages floating on this sign. Is that doable, Elise?
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Okay.
So it sounds like you would like the Boston Properties logo in gray or more monochromatic and smaller.
Yes, currently the wording is black, so I think we could just change the
Logo.
blue lettering into something.
All tenant signage will be the same color, which would be the slate gray with illuminated white letters.
We will mark, if we get to an approval, we'll mark up the conditions for you so that it's clear. Is there anybody else have comments about Deborah, do you have any thoughts on the size of the numbers that Bob mentioned, them sticking above? We can see what it looks like on the back if it stays within the panel of the monument. Other than being graphically interesting, it does make them quite large. So.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like them sticking up. I think if they didn't stick up, I think, you know, I think it helps, you know, overall composition.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I'm gonna go list what I think are the conditions, and you guys can back me up on this. First is that it would have the lettering, the number lighting would have a dimmer on it, and we would review that after it was installed. That the tenant signs all be white letters with a black background, internally illuminated. That the back of the sign, the lettering will be, the number will be vinyl. And that on the Boston Properties logo, it will be dark gray or black and not two colors. Anything, am I missing anything?
No, I think that sounds good.
Okay, so I would take a motion with those conditions.
So moved.
Come back.
Seconded.
Okay, and the vote, Bob Dermody,
Approve.
Chad Riley,
Approved.
Deborah Robinson,
Approved.
and the chair approves. All right, thank you. And we will say, we'll mark this up and get something back to you.
Great, thank you.
You okay, Rana? Hot? What's hot in there?
I'm just sweating.
Okay, and next on the agenda, Josie Lee, AZ Signs for the Little Spoon Thai Kitchen located at 952 Great Plain Avenue.
Hey,
So,
good evening. I'm presenting for the Little Spoon Thai Chicken from the AC side. Because the business owner, they changed their mind. They want to change the logo from the right side to the left side. Then would you mind me to share my screen to showing the change logo sign print?
okay, if I could stop you for 1 second, Josie, I do want to start off by saying we did investigate the history of this site. And you're not while the previous tenant did have 2 signs on there, those were not approved. He did those illegally. So we can only allow 1 sign. But so in the end, we'll do 1 sign and we'll talk with you about where it would go, whether it's over that entrance corner or around on the Great Plain Avenue face directly. But why don't you go ahead and show us the design of the sign that you'd like to look at?
And I also have a question. So if they still wanted to big size, so is it allowed to apply for the special permit for the?
Yes, you could.
Okay. Okay. I can share screen now, right?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Can you see it?
Okay.
I prepared two side plan. One is didn't having the backing, so that one they didn't have the backings, and they changed it. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So this one is the sign for the Little Spoon. So they want at first we submitted the plan. The logo is in the right side. They want to change it to the left side, and so it's very similar like the side plan we submitted, just changing the size. And for now, they also changing the lettering size. It can be small. For now, it's smaller than that one we submitted. So this is for the window side. Is they wanted to put in the vinyl deco at the bottom for the window. And for the main entrance, they also wanted to put in the business hour and the small little logo for the business. So this is for the another side, another big sign, and also the same design for the vinyl. Yeah, this is the cross section. I have a question about for the signage. So would we allowing to making the backing, because they wanted to make the backing with the same size for the wall is about 35 by 247.
Well, that's really sort of a repair of that sign band, correct? You really, right now there's sort of lap siding in that sign band. Is that the material that's there now? And so you're covering that with this aluminum panel, correct?
Yeah.
And the information there says backing painted aluminum with 2-inch deep, and then it stops.
The backing is we were using 1-inch tubing to making the backing double for double 1-inch tubing to making the backing 2 inches deep.
Okay. So you're basically making an aluminum tube frame and then mounting that final sheet over that, placing that into that sign band, and then applying the little spoon sign on top of that.
Yeah, right. Because for the existing one, they are not the flat wall, so they want to making the flat backing to look nicer.
Yeah. And the letters are just illuminated channel letters.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But what you're saying is that you're proposing a slightly different design on the lettering than is in our package.
Yeah, is a little bit different because in the packages, the logo is different, and for the little spoons, they not in the same line. They have the shape in the package, but for now, they are in the same line for the little spoon.
Well, I did do the math earlier on the proposal, design proposal, and got an area of just under 32 square feet. You don't really show the area of the signage, so I sort of added it up.
So
But that included a 24-inch high graphic for the child. And now on the new one, I thought I saw that it's 30 inches high, so it's
yeah, it's 30. They increasing is 30 inches, but for the little spoon lettering, so they decreasing for now is 16 inches. The existing one is 22 inches in the package.
yeah. Do you know the area of the overall? So we measure the area by drawing a rectangle around the entire sign, top, bottom, left, and right. Do you know what the area of that is if you do that to this?
For the without the backing, only for the logo and the lettering is about 27.5 square feet
Okay.
for one side.
Okay.
And total for two is 55 square foot.
Okay. Well, I would suggest that we treat the backing as something you're doing to the building, and then we will look at the sign independently. We really can't approve anything because everything we've got and what the public was available to the public is a different sign than you're proposing now. But I'd like to discuss it with the board and at least get through. And I think at the end we could continue you to our next meeting and you can bring back the correct information. So I would open up to discussion both regarding the backing panel idea, which we've seen before recently, and then also the sign itself. So can I start with Bob? Are you in a good connection here right now? Or?
Yeah, I'm listening in, and I can see the image on the screen.
Okay.
I'm wondering if I'm not sure what the technical term is, but the white background around the Thai kitchen words on the bottom of the sign. In the photographic montage image on the lower left where your cursor is right now, it seems to blur the letters out. I find the clarity difficult to discern on the words Thai and kitchen. I don't know if that's a color issue, a size issue, or a background issue. It's not as bad on the little spoon words because I think there's more dark of the letter stroke than the background white. And maybe that's the issue. On the bottom, there's a lot of white background versus the small letters.
Yeah, for the bottom one, because the Thai chicken, they have the outline. Because the Thai chicken lettering is too small, so we making the white outline to make it pop up and can be made it, by the channel letter.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess that's another good question. What are all these letters? Are they, how deep are they?
The total, the dip is 4 inches deep. Both of them are 4 inches deep.
Okay. Yeah, I'll keep thinking here. I think in fact, it looks like, and again, this might be a Photoshop issue, like it could be raised a little. High, the words a little higher, like little spoon and Thai and kitchen seem lower than centered. But maybe that's again just perspective. Let's go on to someone else and I'll keep thinking.
Deborah?
I'm actually looking at the one in the package that has the more sort of arched spoon word, and the font is, and with the picture on the right, and I actually prefer that one. I think my biggest concern is this panel, which as it's drawn, and I think as you described, the depth of it, those panels that project out from the architecture, I think in my mind tend to look really bad. I'm just trying to now zoom in on the existing with kind of the clapboard. I mean, is there, I would prefer something that sort of stayed in the recess. Because there is something.
It looks
just
like
nice about-
Latina Kitchen. Yeah, it looks like Latina Kitchen put a flat panel in there. I don't know that it was aluminum.
That theirs
but they
looks,
did
I'm
put a
just,
flat
I don't know if there's a better view of this. I'm just trying to sort of zoom in on that image off to
Page
the right.
58.
Page, oh, there's another, wait, 58? I was looking at,
58, yeah.
oh,
Yeah, you
okay. I
can
was
see the
looking at-
existing and the new. Yeah, I think they simply replaced the siding piece with a panel, a wood panel, and painted. Our concern is that that 2-inch frame is going to make the sign stick out beyond the architectural detailing at the top of that goes across around that top of that column and makes that the upper sign band. Is there a reason they don't simply replace that siding with a solid wood panel? Do you know, Josie, why they,
6.
or is it because sign makers make aluminum panels and that's the way you'd have to approach it?
Is it 2 inches? Is too thin for the backing for the panel?
Yeah, I think the backing on that panel is going to stick out in front of those columns and that architectural line above that area. It's because it's so thick. If it's 2 inches thick, it doesn't look like the Latin American cuisine sign you can see.
Yeah. So I finally found page 58, and so that one, the Latin American cuisine, is I think exactly what it should be, where there's a panel that's, the panel is recessed.
Okay, do we have? I guess the other thing I'd like to do is talk a little bit about. So Josie, the question on the sign lettering, are these? Trying to find the page that describes the construction. There it is.
51.
Yeah. So they're just 4-inch channel letters. How are you creating that white shadow behind the words?
For here.
Right, I've got that on my own, so you can. So if you go back to the image we were looking at, yeah. So even right there, that's fine. You can just go back to that page.
For here.
There's a 4-inch return on these, but it's it's square, it's rectilinear. How it looks like there's on the L there's a shadow. Is that just a 3-dimensional illustration of the channel letter that makes it look that way? Or is there actually an offset letter behind it that's painted onto the building, or are these actually angular canisters?
So for the for the letters, because the existing they have some shapes, so maybe we will leave some space for between the channel letter and the backing. If we are not allowing to making the big backing and we just mounting for the existing more, so it will have some curve for the backing.
So that 4-inch deep aluminum returns aren't at a right angle. They're actually angled some direction. I mean, I don't know how to describe an angle and non-angle, but because they are.
The piece up at the top of the page where it says 4-inch white aluminum return, and it's pointing to that.
Is that a 90-degree rectangular box, or is it or are the side walls slanted?
It's 90 degrees. Yeah, correct. So I just want to think
Is it this one or that one? I mean, this is, if you're trying to draw it to make it look 3D, you would draw it like this, but in reality, if you're just looking at the front, it would look like this. So we're trying to figure out, is this really the construction of the box, or is it a weird sloping diagonal box?
For the front view is for the second one, and for the drawing, correct. So for the former, and for the drawing, I just want to show you the 4 inches deep for the retain.
Okay. Well, so if you go back to your image of the sign on the wall for us. So that white shadow that we see behind it is not there. I mean, that's really just you drawing that box 3-dimensionally, that letter.
Can you see?
Because that's having the same issue. It looks like there's a blue front and then a white background or side, that these things are
sort of drop shadow.
It's not there. The background is the retain. So for the 4 inches deep, the face, so they put in the vinyl, and for the retain, we're using the white aluminum. For the 4 inches deep.
But it's the box that Chad had drawn is the correct one, not the one that has a sloped sides. So the one you pointed to you shouldn't, we're confused because you drew these sort of 3-dimensionally, but it's a straight on view so it looks like they're not what they are.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's why Thai Kitchen looks so busy.
Maybe I clean the shadow because I'm showing the shadow for here, showing the shadow so you can see the white, the white, you see the white backing. So the latter should be looks like this, and this is for the retain. So I showing the retain for the white color. So it should be looks like it when the people see in the front.
Okay, I think that sort of confused the issue for us because it looks like there's more happening there than we typically see when we're trying to discuss the signs. We understand how those letters work when there's a 4-inch recess. So people don't usually show us that. We just look at a straight on 2-dimensional view, and then we use the section that you provided to understand the depth.
Okay, I will fix it to show them more. Yeah.
Okay, I guess so it's about a 28 square foot sign from our understanding. Is there, I'll just leave it open to the board. Are you have comments on the design or the issue? I don't particularly care which direction they go, the one that was submitted or this one. I do think that because this was changed without any notice that we would need to have her come back and do a quick discussion again. But we can at least give her direction as to if there's anything else we'd like to see different.
I would say, either one can be a direction. I think in the original one that was submitted, I think there's a better relationship of the logo and Thai Kitchen to the name of the business. I think that the Thai kitchen might look a little bigger here just because of the way it's represented. So seeing it as a true elevation would help. I mean, just graphically, the logo looks like, if we go with the one that's on the screen now, it looks like the logo could be reduced a little bit and it wouldn't feel quite so crowded in the overall height of the panel. And it might be a little bit more in proportion to the size of the lettering. To my eye, the one that's on the screen now looks a little calmer than the one that was first submitted, but that's really their kind of graphic style and how they want to represent the business. So if they preferred the original one that has all caps spoon and upper and lowercase on little, that's kind of up to them, but it just looks a little calmer in the one, with the one exception being that the logo seems a little oversized. And I would agree that replacing the panel similar to what Latina did would be better than an aluminum panel filling that space and projecting out.
Okay.
Also, sorry, one other thing is there's a lot of information that's showing about the graphic elements. I think the city, could be really nice with all of the lettering and phone numbers and business hours. I guess if all of that stays below 2 square feet each, then it's not necessarily permittable, but some of that looks like it's getting very big. And so I would just say as a kind of a caveat that all the catering, delivery, takeout, phone number, that all has to be within the regulations. I'm looking at the original submittal, page 48. You can see a lot of window applied graphics.
Yes. Yeah, you're limited to 25% of that window area. And so I did take a look at the 84 inches versus the 27. And if you reduce the 27 inches, I think to my notes were 24 or 23 inches high, then you'll be compliant on that graphic element. But the catering, delivery, and takeout, that all needs to be under, and we don't really want you to be splashing the phone number on every window pane.
So
I think you really, and certainly the door element is fine. That's pretty standard that people do that. But you've got the little spoon just kind of floating around all that, and I don't think that that's really necessary. And it doesn't really fit what we typically allow. I mean, you can do the cityscape, and then maybe you want to put the little spoon on that a few places. And then the delivery, catering, and takeout, that needs to really drop or move or something.
Okay.
And okay, you didn't show it on the Great Plain Ave length one, so that's good. So it's really just that corner. So I guess Bob, do you have any other thoughts?
No, I think I'm okay.
All right, Josie, I think what we're going to do is continue you to our next meeting, and which is June 28th. June 28th.
Yeah, and I have a question. Would you mind me to ask it? So for the special permit, so what should we do to prepare for the special permit if they still wanted the too big sign? So
you can contact the building department and send them this information. Say you have, you're asking for 2 signs when you're only allowed 1, and he will work with our staff person, Elisa Lichman, and they will prepare the information for you for a special permit, and you can make that application. That's well, I don't want to say a colloquial phrase, but I'm not inclined to think you have the right to do that, but I would warn you that's going to be a difficult approval to get in this location.
it is pretty hard to getting approval to big sign, right?
Well, we don't want to have the discussion now. If you want to apply for it, you're free to do that. But you're talking about signs that are like 5 feet apart, so, and visible almost entirely at the same time. So that's, you'd have to have some pretty good explanation of why it's necessary. And then if I would just make the other comments, I would suggest is that you shrink those graphic logos down so that they're under 25% on the height, and you can just do that math. And then take a closer look at, as Chad suggested, the catering, dining, and the phone number thing, and get that down so it's under 2 square feet, so that it's something we can review and it becomes something that you're allowed to do. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
All right, so you're free to go ahead and make those adjustments. I would also, the last thing I would say is that I would agree with Chad that on your new proposal, that the child graphic would be better if it was more in keeping with the size of the original one. And I think that would be more successful.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any suggestions? Okay, so we will continue you to June 28th. If you apply for a special permit, we'll probably move that time because it may take a little longer to get that put together. There's a public notification requirement, but the building department and Elisa Lichman can work with you on the details of that. Okay.
And could you do you know how long for the special permit? Jewelry.
As soon as you get the application in, we review it. So there's some time frames for public notification that have to be met. And I don't know if you could do it by the June 28th meeting. I think you'd have to have all your work submitted by the middle of this week or so. So I'm not sure that that's of the timing on that, because it's usually you need to submit at least 2 weeks before the meeting.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Joseph. Okay. All right. So then the next item is the minutes of May 10th, 2021, which I want to look at. So, are there any comments or corrections to those? So I'd accept a motion to, sorry, there he is. I accept a motion to approve the minutes of May 10th, 2021.
So moved.
Seconded.
And we vote Bob Dermody,
Aye.
Chad Riley,
Approved.
Deborah Robinson,
Approved.
and the chair approves. So I would accept a motion to adjourn.
I know we all want to go watch the Bruins, but can we have one quick conversation before?
Yeah,
I
totally.
have, unrelated to the design review board, I have one project that's getting all kinds of FOIA requests. So I think Deb and I were trying to have a little conversation, but I didn't want to do anything outside the confines of what's allowed. Can 2 people, if they're not a quorum, have a conversation about a specific item that's before the board, or is any conversation outside of the public meeting not permissible?
No, it's okay to have a couple of people, 2 people to talk about it. 3.
I just wasn't sure, and so yeah.
3
I'm
members
sorry,
are-
Deb. I didn't mean to frustrate you, but yeah.
3 members are
Yeah.
a quorum. And
Yeah.
so,
So one-on-one people can have a conversation. Okay. I wanted to be extra safe because of what I'm going through on this other thing.
Yeah,
so.
no, and I did find the document that outlines those requirements, which, then you can't then have a
Yeah, I
conversation
know.
with one person, then have another conversation with another person, so it adds up to be more than a quorum.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, so sorry about that, Deb. I just, my hesitation was more about something outside of this board. So I just wanted to be double extra safe and make sure we're all on the same page about that.
Yeah, typically, I try not to, if we have emails and things about projects, it's more procedural as much as I can. And,
Yeah.
and we ask people not to weigh in with opinion until we are here.
Right.
While we're still going, I was trying to get an update today on whether we would continue to meet this way or whether we were to go back in person. And I know that the town is discussing it. But Elisa, do you have any updates on that issue?
I have a little bit of information. So the select board was discussing it. This was before June 1st. And Katie King, who's the assistant town manager, who Lee reports to in planning, was presenting to the board, what's going on in terms of the various boards that if they had to, if they go back to in person, the issues that are, some of the boards have people who can't meet in person, or what they ideally were talking about is some kind of hybrid. And the only way they can do hybrid is if they have the Needham channel capability, which is only giving us Powers Hall, Broadmeadow,
Charles River.
no, not the Charles River room, because they wanted more space, I guess. And so there are limitations to where you can hold it. And so basically, Katie was saying to the board, we're hoping that the board will make some kind of recommendation. And if the governor says we can go till September, great. But if he doesn't, then the board should be sort of lead the charge which way to go. Like if people can still, if the town can continue to run their meetings remotely, then it would be up to them.
Right, yeah, so one of the things that Elisa and I talked about this week was just the general change in format, which was now we get information ahead. It's all electronically packaged. We can look at it early. Historically, we were a walk-in